So most of the people who watch this are going to be very confused, so let me explain. I haven't been able to post for a while because I've been dealing with some legal issues. Apparently, I'm required by law to go to this thing called school. I don't know, it's weird, and it's why I haven't posted in a while. But when my teacher, Mr. L, we'll call him, assigned me this project, I decided to kill two birds with one stone. I just hope he doesn't take off points for me drawing him with a big nose. But you know who else has a big nose? Adam Smith. And that's who we're talking about today. Adam Smith was one of the core Enlightenment thinkers of the Enlightenment era, which happened during the 1700s, and is seen today as the father of capitalism. Now, when we think of capitalism, we usually think of Jeff Bezos riding bareback on an electric Amazon delivery truck being pulled by underpaid workers because the lithium battery died. But this isn't necessarily what the great Adam Smith saw when he imagined his capitalist utopia. So grab your glasses, hide from Twitter, it's time to talk about history. Adam Smith was born on June 5th, 1723, in Kirkcaldy, Scotland. His early life is actually quite a mystery, since he comes from pretty humble backgrounds, as the town he lived in was small and relatively unknown. Fun fact though, apparently at age 4, he was said to have been, quote, carried away by gypsies, before being abandoned by his captors. I like to imagine that these gypsies were actually time-traveling communists that sought to destroy Adam Smith before he could make his impact on the world. But hey, that's just my personal headcanon. Anyway, at age 14, the young Adam Smith entered the University of Glasgow in 1737, which was already seen as the center of what many called Scottish Enlightenment. He graduated and then spent the majority of his time just kind of sitting around reading books. What a nerd. Then, 6 years later, he just went home to his family and was like, "Hey, Mom, I need a job." So with the help of Big Balls jurist and philosopher Lord Henry Holmes Kames, who was quite impressed with the intellect of the young Adam Smith, he was able to give a series of public lectures which caught the attention of his old school. And they were like, "Hey, people are starting to like you, and you're saying some real smart stuff. Want a job?" So Adam Smith became the professor of logic at Glasgow in 1751. Then, in 1759, Smith published The Theory of Moral Sentiments, where he talks about human nature and social behavior. In this book, he would go on to quote many inspirational phrases, such as, "The most sacred law of justice are the laws which guard the life and person of our neighbor." Though this quote, nor this book, never got much coverage during the Enlightenment, I think it's an important insight on how Adam Smith saw the world. It represents the idea that our neighbor's life is just as important as our own, regardless of belief. Everyone back then was kind of just like, "Hey, so I'm a rich Christian, loyal to the crown. And if you aren't, then I hate you, and you shouldn't have any rights." This book also made scholars question where Adam Smith stood religiously, as he doesn't talk about it often. In his first book, he praises the Christian doctrine, having good moral standings. And through his work, he seems to address that there is in fact a higher power that he calls God. But he doesn't give more specifics than that. Then, in 1764, he met another great Enlightenment philosopher by the name of Voltaire, and the two were quite fond of each other. But now we get into the meat and potatoes. What really made this guy famous was his book, The Wealth of Nations. What made this book different from other Enlightenment novels is that while others talked about philosophy and government and boring stuff like that, Adam Smith talked about economics and money. So, for example, Thomas Paine wrote his book, Common Sense. You know, things like everybody is born with inalienable rights, government should not have total control over the people, you pour the cereal before the milk, common sense, pretty self-explanatory stuff. Adam Smith really didn't talk about that too much. He saw that other people were covering it, and so he decided to do something different. So what's so special about this book, The Wealth of Nations? Well, it introduces many of the core principles of capitalism we know and love today. Firstly, it talks a lot about supply and demand, where the value of a product is balanced between the amount available and the demand for the product. For example, if I own a banana shop, to sell bananas, but there are 20 other banana shops in my area, I'm not going to get many customers. But let's say someone was to accidentally set fire to all 20 of these other banana shops. Now all the monkeys are going to swing over to my jungle to eat my bananas. Don't take that out of context. He also talked about free trade, which is basically just a middle finger to the government. It basically means that we can trade with whoever we want, not just who the government wants us to trade with. Then there's laissez-faire, which is yet another middle finger to the government. It's the belief that when it comes to businesses, taxes, and economics, that the government should just mind its business and let things take course on its own. He believed that competition also benefited the economy. Being able to adapt to competitors to make more sales is vital to creating a growing economy. He also believed that the value of an object wasn't necessarily just due to its rarity or productivity, but more on the work put into creating said product. So it costs less to buy the parts to make a chair than it does to buy a fully built chair, because someone put in the effort to build said chair. With all of these combined, he justifies wealth in a capitalist world, because if you're rich in a capitalist world, it's because you worked for it and created something that people were willing to buy. This also allows for social mobility, to rise or fall through the social classes. Now, you may be wondering, this Adam Smith guy sounds way too humble and well-spoken to be all he says he is. Surely he must be hiding some dirty secrets. And wouldn't you know it, no. Yeah, it turns out I researched the hell out of this guy's personal life, and he never married, was a humble in person, was considered to be a bright man with good moral compass, and was lighthearted. But hey, it's the 1700s, so he was probably a racist. Anyway, now it's the part where I talk about my personal opinion on the guy. Honestly, I thought he was really smart. He created an incredibly free system of economics with good moral standing, and without him, America might not have been the land of opportunity that it is today. And to the people who say how evil capitalism is because some people are rich and some people are poor, I'll say this. Capitalism may not be perfect, but I'd rather live in a society where some people are poor but have opportunities than a society where everybody is poor with no opportunities. Thank you. Oh, so it says here that I have to cite my sources because otherwise it'll be considered plagiarism. Because of course I wouldn't want to steal the intellectual property of the knowledge of history. So here we go. Thank you to Britannica.com, AdamSmithWorks.org, and Goodreads.com for providing me with most of my information. Also, a big thank you to Webster's Dictionary for all the words I used in this video, because I would hate to plagiarize the intellectual property of the human language. But anyway, that's all for today, and I'll see you nerds in the next video.